We have racism within our own culture. Light skin over dark skin. If you go and look under hashtag light skin, team dark skin online, you'll see battles between light and dark, which
Correct.
is totally absurd, but it's part of the reality of our consciousness.
Right.
And the reason it's so ridiculous is because no matter what culture we are and what race we think we are, we're basically all the same color. And the color is a grayish white. And that's called a skeleton. Because when you die, no matter what color the surface of you is, when your flesh peels away, you're a skeleton. So this debate is so ridiculous. If you think about it in terms of quantum physics and those kinds of things, because it's just absurdly stupid. But if we're having a conversation, it's really being used to divide us. And we're all falling into the same trap. And whites don't like blacks, and blacks don't like whites, and blah, 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 blah. But what are the real issues? And the real question is, what are we leaving our children? This is something that we are so selfish about, these debates. Shouldn't we be leaving our children something more than what we have inherited in terms of this planet? Shouldn't we leave our children with something that transcends them talking about the color of their skin? There are things that are facing us now that we are ignoring. That is the real boogeyman. I'll give you an example. Climate change. No one wants to talk about climate change because it's too scary to talk about. Here's the problem. The boogeyman don't care if you believe in him or not. He's gonna eat you anyway.
Right.
True.
You can say, I don't believe in the boogeyman. Forget the boogeyman. Go.
Yeah, I'm very scared of climate change myself. So I hear you on that.
There's a couple of documentaries on Netflix that are very they're disturbing, to say the least. And these issues don't just impact Black people or white people or red people or yellow people or brown people. These issues impact us all. And what's very concerning to me is that we have no concern over the impact of our ignorance on our grandchildren, our great-great-great-great-grandchildren. We still talk about this topical racism stuff when no matter what color we are, we could all be gone in the next 30 to 40 years.
You know what? You raised some really good points. And, I watched a few interviews from you previous to this one. And you spoke about how you overcame your own bias for white people, right? You spoke about things that you've seen, things that your parents seen, as far as Black people being barbecued and, lynched and things of this nature. And you spoke about how you overcame that ideology. Even though you faced that, you still found success and you still worked hard, and you still found a way to not harbor that hate and not necessarily get over it, but still move on, right?
Yes.
And you also you took a pre-med, correct?
Yeah. Well, yes, I was supposed to be a doctor, but in junior college, I had to bring home dead cats and frogs and squalus acanthias, and my room smelled like formaldehyde all the time, and I just decided this was not for me. I mean, it's fascinating, the human body and everything,
Right.
but it was not for me.
I only bring that up because you spoke about when we die, we all become skeleton. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're just skeletons. That's all we really are.
Right.
And after the skeletons, we turn into atoms, and then atomic atoms turn into molecules, and then that turns into something. Do you know, if you look through an electron microscope today at matter, are you aware of the fact that if you look at it, it has a different response to you than it does to me? It's observing us.
Wow.
You ask any quantum physicist, it is incredible what they're discovering in terms of existence.
Wow. Jessica, because I kind of want to get back to your upbringing in this country and some of the things you experienced and that your family experienced, and also to bring us to how you found the fortitude to still become successful in that as it regards to your experience in this country, since we're talking about voting as well. Do you have any advice for people who may be jaded based on their racial experience, and especially currently, right now, what's going on?
I understand totally the passion of the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, this is an historical crisis we're in terms of our voting rights being taken away, our civil rights being taken away, our human rights being taken away. And just the attack on those things creates anger. But anger without a strategy leads to frustration. I don't really see a viable strategy yet. I empathize with the just anger of, the audacity. The audacity. I mean, they're attacking things that Dr. King and Mr. Lewis and Rosa Parks and Malcolm X and people died for.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still being attacked until this day. The question is, what are we collectively going to do? We have over $1 trillion in power financially. As a culture, over $1 trillion. Why aren't we using those dollars collectively to make a difference?
Good question.
For some reason, we do not have the desire, capability, or capacity to collectively come together. We blame everybody else for everything. The system, the white man, blah, 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 blah. And it is true that there are people out there that do things consciously to stop us, to disencourage us. They are killing our children. The young boys are in trouble. Yes. And I get flack over this all the time when I say yes, but there are more Black young boys killing each other in our community than there are police. But I'm told, well, that's the result of the system. Okay, that's the result of the system. Here is the question. What are you going to do? And whenever I ask that question, I get stutters.
So you're saying you're not saying that it's not a result of the system, but you're challenging us to say, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do that doesn't only deal with our present egos, but the future of our great, 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 great grandchildren? What is our plan?
I think that's a great question that you have, Mr. Duke. And I agree with you. I think for so long, so many Black people in this country have taken their grievances out on the system and on white people. And as a millennial, I was born in the early 90s, if I can date myself. I see now that there is a growing number of Black people in America who are asking those very same questions, who are finally starting to wake up and realize, okay, wait a minute, at some point, I have to take charge of my own destiny. Personally, I grew up in a household where I wasn't made to believe that my race, my ethnicity, my gender was an obstacle. You know, I was told that I could be, do, and have anything that I want. And I'm very proud to see the growing number of Black people who are taking life into their own hands, who are thinking, okay, how can I play the game? You know, that old saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. Well, there's so many people now who I see are trying to learn the game. I think of people like Nipsey Hussle, who was a wonderful pillar in our community, who really encouraged Black people to take ownership, to buy back the block. It's not on white people. It's not on the system. No one is coming to save you. You have to do that for yourself. Build a legacy, build wealth, leave those things behind. So I really resonate with those things that you are saying.
I celebrate what you're saying. You know, Malcolm X had two quotes that I'll never forget. He said, one, no matter how good a football player you are, if the name of the game is baseball, you better get yourself a damn bat.
Absolutely.
He said that your competition is going to tell you how good a little football player you are while they're running around the bases. The second quote he had was, he said, don't be playing checkers in a chess game.
Yes.
You're going to be told how good a little checker player. Look at, here's a good little checker. Look at Mr. M. Look at Jessica. There's some good little checker players. And they playing chess.
Yes, and that is a distraction. I think a lot of people focus on what you're saying, like, well, why can't I get it right? It's the system. Well, you're not taking the time to learn the system. There are people, especially in our community, that I look to who have been successful, who I count as my mentors, including yourself, who have found a way to study, learn, understand the system and make it work for them. And I do believe that it's possible. And now is the time.
Now is the time. And the fact of the matter is that we have the tools, the intellect, and the power to do something about it. But we're still waiting, for the most part. And those who have come up with anger and frustration don't have a foreseeable, well laid out strategy. And that's what's disturbing, because if you don't have a strategy, it doesn't, I mean, for somebody to literally say, let's dismantle all of the police forces, to literally say that and mean it, and not understand that if someone is going to choke your daughter, who do you call? Yes, there has to be a change of the infrastructure.
They know not what they speak of.
They know, no, they just talk. And the thing is yes, the police department should be restructured. The police department should be retrained. The police department should have more strict disciplines. For example, If an officer kills a young man unjustifiably and it's proven that he did so, he's just not furloughed to a different department. He is fired and his pension is taken away. I wonder what happens if you know that your pension is going to be taken away. You don't have to love Black folks. You're just acting in the sense of your own vested interests.
Right. Because money is where it hurts. There's a saying, if you want to make them pay, you hit them where it hurts. I commend, the people who are out there on the front lines who are who are protesting. But like you said, there has to be a strategy, and not just any strategy in place, but a strategy that is effective. How are you going to restructure this system? Because we know a lot of these systems that we have in this country were not built for us. We're not built for people who look like you and me. We know that. So how do we get the system to work for us? How do we make the people who are put there to protect us? Because at the end of the day, like you said, people are calling for the dismantling of the police, abolish the police. But what is it that they really want? I think a lot of people, they don't know what they're speaking of. Everybody, they want to feel safe in their communities. They want to feel protected, and they want to feel like there will be justice when there is a crime enacted against them, whether it's, murder or brutality or theft. Everybody wants to feel protected. They don't feel like they're going to be betrayed by the people that are sworn to protect them. So how do you restructure this system so that it does what it's supposed to do for everybody, not just a certain group of people? And meanwhile, how do you build yourself up? How do you build up your community so that you're not reliant on those broken systems?
Well, you stated it very eloquently a few moments ago, brilliantly. We're talking about black, white, yellow, brown. And the only color that really impacts anything is green.
Yeah, absolutely. I work in finance. So these are the types of things that I'm learning. It's money. And a lot of people will say, oh, capitalism is so bad. Down with. Here's the thing. That's the game we're playing. If we live in a capitalist society, you need capital, right? You need capital to move. You got to make it work for you. Money is a tool. It is not evil. It is not good. Money is a tool. Do you know how to use it?
That's right. And we're not taught that. We're taught how to spend money, but no one teaches us how to use money. I have a foundation called the Duke Media Foundation, and we teach two things: media literacy, which is the transition from film and television into media, and we teach media literacy. What is the stock market? What is the FDIC? What are stocks? What are bonds? What is the Federal Reserve? What is debt? What is credit? How do you begin to think about money? Not only, there are athletes and musicians that make $200 and $300 million and go broke.
Yes. I see that all the time with some of my clients.
How do you go broke if you make $200 million?
Yeah. Bad spending habits.
And it's bad spending habits. And again, like being a consumer in a capitalistic society, not understanding your money, not understanding compound interest. It's not just saving. You don't want to just stick all your money in a savings account because the bank rates, the interest credited to you isn't keeping up with inflation. There are services, there are tools, and these are things that people need to know. Like your foundation, you're disseminating that information to the youth. That's what I do in my career, teaching our people, teaching everyone in general how to make these systems work for you.
So listen, before we go totally, well, this is a great conversation. First of all, that's why you're here. You're imparting your wisdom on us, and I want to thank you again. But we do have a comment from the audience. We have a few comments, but I'll just pick one of them that's based on what we just spoke about when you spoke about people not having a strategy when it comes to reforming the police department. Virginia Slim says, does he believe in community policing? So that question is for you. Do you believe in community policing? Do you believe that's a viable solution to quote unquote defunding the police or reforming the police department?
It depends on how you define community policing. Policing is a very specific craft and discipline. And I would say, yes, community policing, but also we need well-trained police officers outside of the community. If you combine both, and they both come together with a strategy of not only how to protect, but educate and grow our community, yes, I can understand that. If there is a well laid out strategy that doesn't only deal with now, but deals with the future also. Because thinking about now is meaningless. I mean, okay, we solved the problem for now, but what about the problems that we face that are continuing to come? So there is some, I think our thinking is very limited at this point, and I'm very frustrated about that because we're thinking about ourselves now and not our great-grandchildren.
Right.
There are, there are cultures, that are laying out strategies for their great-grandkids. And we're talking about next year or next week.
Right.
When are we going to start thinking like many other cultures do in terms of the future of their children? And I don't see that kind of, I mean, Dr. King did it. He knew he was going to die. He sacrificed himself. But he had a strategy and he laid it out, but we're not following that. We've somehow, I don't know, it's
interesting that you say that. Just the other day, I heard my mentor say, and this could be applied toward anything, whether it's wealth building or community policing, the difference between the top 10% and most people is that the top 10%, they don't just think about themselves, they think about their future generations.
That's right. And that's
how we have to start thinking.
We have to. Do you know that this is embarrassing to say? 2 years ago, Dr. King's parade is held every year on Crenshaw Boulevard. So these two young girls from junior high school, they were at the parade on the sidewalk, and a television reporter came up and said, hey, what are you all doing here? Oh, we're here to celebrate Mr. King's birthday. And I'm not exaggerating. The reporter said to them, do you know who Dr. King was? And they say, oh yeah, wasn't he that actor?
Ooh.
It's sad, but it's funny, but then it's sad. It's sad. It's more sad, but
it's very, yeah.
I mean, no. Who? My question: whose responsibility is it for us to tell those young girls who Dr. King was?
Good question.
It starts in the home.
Yeah,
it starts in the home because we cannot rely on
No, you
the
cannot.
American education system.
No, you can't.
Because the things, you know, my brother and I, my younger brother, we're a decade apart. And I see when when I got into college, I went to the great San Diego State University. Shout out to the Aztecs. It wasn't until I took an Africana Studies class, which was an elective history course, that I began to learn all of the different pieces to the puzzle that was robbed from me in my elementary, middle, high
Yes.
school years.
Yes. Yes.
I cannot even articulate the anger and the frustration I felt. But not to harp on that, I say that to say it starts in the home. I thank my mother who made sure that I knew my history beyond the sprinkles that were told to me in my history book. I thank God for her because that, you know, that really taught me that the education system, they're not really here for us the way
Huh.
we think they are, the way we expect them to be. So to answer your question, whose responsibility is it to teach those girls? It starts in the home. It starts with knowing yourself. It starts with knowing your people. And not only that, knowing where you want to go.
You know,
Because it's not just knowledge that's power, it's applied knowledge that's power.
I have friends in the public school systems in different parts of the country. And this is something that's very disturbing to me. They are telling me that in many high schools in this nation, we are graduating young people from high school with second grade reading skills. How do you survive in a global economy with a second grade reading skill? You don't. It's called prison.
Mm.
And I think there's an agenda. I think that's very deliberate.
Oh, you kidding me? Pipeline time.
Are you familiar with Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil?
Yes.
So you already know where I'm going with that.
Go with it.
We would probably be here all day, but again, just relying especially on the public education system to give your children the education they need to get ahead, not even get ahead, but even just to maintain, like you said, how do you survive in a global world on a second grade education level? And it's not just the global world, it's a multilingual world. The world is going to outpace us.
Yes.
It starts in the home. It starts
Yes.
in the home. Do not rely on any system, especially any public system, to educate your children, because you
Yes.
will be left behind every time.
That's right.
Left behind. That's one of the reasons why I got into the financial industry, because I wanted to be able to learn that system. I wanted to be able to speak the language of money so that not only can I use it to advance myself, my family, my future generations, but to disseminate that information to my community as well. Because again, it's a game. The name is capitalism. We got to play it. We can't just complain, right? We can't just, I'm not mad at the billionaires in America. Why? Because they figured out a way to make the system work for them.
Yes.
I believe good people will do great things with the resources, because that's what money is at the end of the day. It's a resource. And that's what this all comes back to. Bad people who have bad intentions will use their resources for bad things. So why not have more good people who want to do good for the world? Why not teach them how to gain more resources? Wouldn't the world be a much better place? Because globalization is a double-edged sword.
Yes.
So how do we sharpen our sword for the proper battle?
Let me ask you something, Mr. Bill Duke. We spoke about people not having a strategy, but them having a just cause and a reason to be upset, a reason to be angry. Do you feel that voting, and especially in this particular election, is going to be part of that solution?
Yes, but I think our focus is split in the wrong place. Voting for president, yes. That's important. But you can't look at what they say. You have to look at what they do and what they've done. Number two, what's as important or more important than the presidential election are your local elections. All those people who are in control of educational systems, all the other things that affect you and your children locally, every single day, those local officials have to be examined and held to account in terms of everything they do or do not do in terms of your well-being.
Right. You know, it's funny you say that because you know, I was having some conversations with some people, and you know, I explained to them that, you know, in the past, in my, I want to say early 20s, I've seen the local election work in the sense that my aunt and I, we were on the ballot in Brooklyn for a judicial delegate and alternative judicial delegate, and I actually got that position, but as an alternative judicial delegate. But I didn't like continue into politics, and I think a lot of people, like myself at the time, just kind of felt jaded with the process at a certain point. What do you have to say to people who feel that, you know, they just don't feel that their vote counts? They don't feel that it's a sham. You know, you got the you got, you know, you got things that override, you know, the popular vote, things of that nature. What do you have to say to people who just feel that voting in this election doesn't matter at this point?
Well, to a certain extent, it doesn't matter, and to a certain extent, it does matter.
Okay.
You know, there are a lot of people that are friends of mine. They don't want to vote because of the electoral college.
Right. That's the word I was looking for, but I didn't want to screw it up. But yes, exactly.
The so-called electoral college.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of research into that, and that's a very interesting phenom.
Right.
They never explain to people what it really means and what it does.
Correct.
Because when you vote at the polls, that's only one aspect of the election. Then it goes to the electoral college, because Hillary Clinton beat Trump by how many popular votes?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know the exact number, but she did beat him in a popular vote, correct?
But the electoral college said she lost. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We have to examine the electoral college, and as a people, we have to really get to understanding what that really means, because that impacts our vote considerably. Number two, whether your vote matters or not, it's going to be questionable because they are challenging us. You see, people don't challenge you if they're not afraid of you.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we hold the balance. See, Hispanics and Blacks, in terms of just voting, hold the balance. And the thing is that we have to vote. And we have to show up in numbers that are historical.
So
go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, to cut your wisdom short, but you're basically saying Blacks and Latinos and Latinx people, we can tip the scale.
No doubt about it.
Wow.
And guess what? If the popular vote comes in at a number that is overwhelming, but the electoral college says that doesn't count, people that control the electoral college have offices and homes.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying, right?
I know what you're saying. Okay.
I'm saying You know, you should never back a mouse into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, black folks are saying, "Oh well, you know, the giant has his foot on my neck, and he's so big and powerful. I'm looking up, and I can't even see his head. That's how tall he is." But here's my thing. He's got his neck, his foot on your neck, and his foot got toes.
Right.
At least bite a damn toe.
Right.
Right.
You can't bite a toe?
Right.
Cut
an ankle.
Or whatever you,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Fight whatever you can.
Whatever
Make
you can.
an impact.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
See, we don't bite. We just, oh my goodness, how big his foot is.
Fueled by Rhythm says, salute to the elder Bill Duke, Sister Williams, and of course the good brother Logic. Doing great work and having a great conversation. Love it. Thank you all for watching. We have a lot of other comments too. But Jessica, did you want to go to one of your questions as well? I got a lot out of that last question. I really did. I want to thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. I think, again, this has been a great conversation so far, and a lot of the questions that I did have, have been answered through these conversations. But one thing you said that is kind of on my mind, just to reiterate, yes, our vote matters, but make it matters where it counts, right? It's not just the presidential election, because of course we know that the electoral college plays a big hand on the outcome of that, but it's your local elections, your local officials. I think that a lot of people, when we do have a great injustice like Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and we're wondering, okay, why are the cops getting away? Why are the cops getting off? A lot of people are not looking at the prosecutors and who we select to be in charge of that. Not everything falls on the president. The president he's not the king, right? He doesn't make all of the decisions. It's our local officials as well that play a big hand. Right. So, Mr. Duke, if you can just reiterate the importance, yes, your vote matters. It matters where it counts the most.
Yes. Well, we're, okay. There's Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. Then there are places that are close to your home. The closest places to your home and your children, you should focus on that, because those people are determining a lot of aspects of your life, from employment to your health to education, all kinds of things. And we're focused on the so-called bigger picture. The bigger picture is going to affect the nation, yes. But the smaller picture of the local elections are going to impact your livelihood, your everyday living. The cleanliness of your streets, the quality of your high school, junior high school, elementary schools, the quality of the food, the water that you drink. I mean, these are fundamental things that if you don't hold their feet to the fire, then you can't, how can I say, I don't know, it's, I'm not trying to be mean, but sometimes we're lazy. We're just lazy sometimes.
Yeah.
And and yes, there's a lot of blame to go around, but don't you get a breath sometimes blaming everybody? I mean, I want to go to the local person I elected that's in charge of education, right? I want to go knock on their door. I know where they live. Go knock on their door.
Yeah, and people have done that.
And that, you see, when somebody knocks on your door, that's a person who voted you in office.
Right. Holding you accountable.
if we don't hold them accountable, then they do become kings and queens. Because we're saying what we voted for you for doesn't matter. And
Right.
I don't. We have to be more proactive. We have to be. I mean, people died so we could vote.
So
yes.
So let's talk about that. We hear that a lot. People die for you to vote, and some feel that they died for me to have the option to vote, right? So, what would you say to people who believe that?
I don't like to curse, so I'm not going to say anything.
You can say, you know, you don't.
That's exactly what I want to say.
Say it. You know, you done fucked up, right?
They know they done fucked up. Put it that way, okay? The thing is that, you know, it's just using language in a clever way does not take away the fact of what Medgar Evers, Rosa Parks, Dr. King, Malcolm X, John Lewis. I mean, if you just look at the footage of what happened to John Lewis on that bridge, how he was beaten. I mean, the people who sat at lunch counters, hot coffee poured in their faces. I mean, there is, and you know, what's insane is that a lot of our children don't even know that those things occurred.
Right. I haven't heard of some of these things. I'll be honest. I haven't seen the footage that you speak of. Can you give me that reference point again? Because I might could pull it up and put it on the screen.
Look at lunch counter sit-ins. Lunch counter sit-ins. And then put in John Lewis and others and see literally what happened to them.
That is enough to make you so angry.
It makes me very angry and proactive because I don't know, you know, it's disturbing, you know? Very disturbing.
I actually found some footage from PBS. I'll actually share it on the screen as we talk about it. And furthermore, what would you have to say to people who feel that, you know, that's just, what do you have to say to people that feel that, look, they died for my right to vote, but it's my right and I can, vote or not vote? Like, what's your thoughts on that? Well, what do you have to say to them directly outside of what we said already?
That intellectual rhetoric has nothing to do with an understanding of your responsibility for your children and your grandchildren. I have the right to vote or not to vote. But you have the right to go to the bathroom or not go to the bathroom. But excuse my expression, but if you're full of shit, you should definitely go to the bathroom.
Hey, okay.
Look at this footage. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. They didn't do it for themselves. Look at this. There's a book that everybody listening to this should get today if they can get it. It's called Without Sanctuary. Without Sanctuary. It's a book that is a pictorial history of all the lynchings and what they called nigger barbecues. Are you aware of the fact that they used to take us alive? And you know how barbecues are now, and you turn a pig or something on the spit until it's done? You know about that, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
They used to take us and put us on these poles and spits and turn us around until we were barbecued and our body parts fell into the ashes of the fire. And they hold up a piece of the ash and take a picture and smile. We have pictures to prove it. The book is called Without Sanctuary. You have to get it. If you go online right now, you can probably see parts of the book. But I have a right to vote or not vote. I have a right to vote or not vote. No, you don't.
Actually, trying to pull up some of the, pictures that you speak of now.
And these people that talk about, well, that's in the past. Was it a year and a half ago that 3 young boys were lynched? Did you hear about that?
Yes, correct.
Lynched, right? How many young black men are killed annually today? How many of us are killing each other every day today? The past, and we're just not doing anything about it because we don't have to vote. I have a right to vote or not to vote. Yep, that's one picture. Another picture. Is there a picture of when they're, yes, so that's a little boys. Yep, that's another picture.
This is why in the beginning of the interview, I want to speak to you about, your experience growing up and your parents' experience, things that they've seen. Your parents are from the South, correct?
My mother's from West Point, Mississippi, and my father's from Orange, Virginia. And they've seen lynchings, nigger barbecues. When they were on Sunday and they had wooden sidewalks and dirt streets, if they were walking on their way to church and a white family was coming their way, they'd have to step off the sidewalk. Is that an amazing picture? They'd have to step, look at that. That's a nigger barbecue. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you mind if I pause it on that picture?
Yeah, please.
All right.
Look at them smiling. See how they're smiling?
Yeah, absolutely.
If they were walking on their way to church, and a white family was coming in their direction, they had to bow their heads down, step off the sidewalk into the mud, get their shoes and everything mudded. And once the white family was 100 yards past them, they could get back on the wooden sidewalk and keep walking to the church. Every white family that passed them, they had to do that.
Is it safe to say that people were intimidated not to vote in these times as well? In the times of your parents?
They couldn't vote.
They couldn't vote. Parents
not allowed to vote.
What year did we get the right to vote?
I forgot the exact year. It was in different parts of the nation, though.
Okay.
We didn't all get but it was Johnson, I think, Lyndon B. Johnson, right? That really, see, the thing is that this is not a thing of the past. Our right to vote is being challenged today.
Correct. And that's what I wanted to speak to you about as well. I want to ask you about, do you see any threat of history repeating itself?
History is repeating itself.
Yeah.
There's no threat. It is. It's here.
It's happening.
Yeah.
And with that being said, do you see it potentially being somewhat of another civil war when you have different factions of people fighting for different reasons. You have and not just, we're not speaking of just black folks now, right? We're speaking of, you know, the white folks fighting other white folks based on the different organizations, and you know, the left fighting the right, Antifa fighting, you know, the Proud Boys, and you know, people actually getting killed right now. You have the situation where the young guy shot some protesters not too long ago, in, I believe, Louisville, Kentucky. Well, I forget where exactly it happened, so pardon me if I'm you know, saying it wrong, but you have a situation where a guy literally shot protesters on camera, and the police rolled by him and they didn't arrest him until a few days later. So do you think that civil war is like legitimately happening again right now?
Well, ignorance is growing. Both sides have ignorance on their sides. So yeah, ignorance is there. The hope is that there will be some kind of understanding that transcends that ignorance.
Right.
What again? We're not seeing the bigger picture.
Right.
Okay, suppose whether it's the left, the right, or whoever wins the Civil War. It still is not stopping the ice glades from melting.
Right.
It's still not stopping the forests from burning.
Right.
It is still not stopping the poisoning of water on this planet.
It was a young man who died from some type of virus in water.
That's right.
In Texas, yeah.
So what I'm saying is, while we are still focused on this stupidity, there are things that are threatening us all that we're not focusing on at all.
Right.
And that's because we're not thinking about our children. You know, there's Wayne Dyer has a saying. He's an inspirational speaker. And he said, every day you wake up, you have one of two choices. You can be a host to God or a hostage to your ego. Most people wake up being hostages to their ego. And ego stands for one thing, EGO, edging God out.
Say that again.
Ego stands for EGO, edging God out.
I heard you. I just wanted you to say it again. Jessica's back with us.
I'm back. Sorry, gentlemen, technical difficulties.
We thought you abandoned us, Jeff.
Oh no, I could never. We're having such a great rapport.
Yes. Oh man. You know, we're over time by a minute that we have of your busy schedule. I can't thank you enough for this conversation. I myself personally, I received a lot from it. I know there's a lot more you can tell us. And I just wish we had all day. You know what I mean? I feel like I would love to just sit there and just hear you speak about these things all day, because there's a wisdom with experience as well, as you're a very smart individual. You know, I did a lot of research on your background, and you know, you overcame a lot of obstacles, you know, and not only just you're not only just a hard worker, but you also your intellect, you know what I mean? So is there anything you want to promote as far as like your books? I see you got that nice sweater on, which I want to tell people you can go get Your Vote Matters or Black Vote Matters or Latino Vote Matters at yourvotematters.store. Right. You can definitely get those sweaters, mugs, and other apparel, gaiters for your face, you know. But you know, you wrote some books. You have some films came out. You have films on colorism and a book on colorism and books about your experience in the film business. And you know, like you said, you had also a movie on colorism as well as the book, right? So can you give us let people know where to find you and or your products as well, your content, because you're doing some great work that people really need to support. Speaking of us pulling our resources together and supporting our own, right? So can you let us know some of that, you know, some places we can support you?
Well, thank you. One, you can go to, want to contribute to my foundation, go to dukemediafoundation.org, dukemediafoundation.org. My movies, Dark Girls and Light Girls, are documentaries that have been on OWN and other networks. I have a book coming out called The Journey, which is a book that deals with the human experience of life itself and a number of other things that are occurring. I'm about to launch an online network that deals with my brand. I call what I do edutainment.
Right.
You can entertain to make the investor back his or her dollars, but you can also give nuggets of information that people feel and think about. You can do both. And I'm a great fan of quotes. And in most of my interviews, I leave with these 3 quotes, which are my favorite quotes. First, aspire to inspire before you expire.
I love that.
Who said that?
I forgot the author of it, but I'll remember it.
Okay. No worries.
Find it online.
That's something we need to hear. And I can't thank you enough.
No, I got 2 more.
Okay.
The second quote. If a man does not seek humility, humility will seek the man. And last but not least, in your lifetime, you will never see a smaller package than a person wrapped up in themselves.
Whew.
Wow.
Whew. Listen, that's wonderful. I hope we can talk with you again.
God bless you both. God bless you both.
Yes, thank you. God bless you. And listen, I hear what you're talking about with the network. I wish you all the success with that. And we'll contact Brandon. Maybe we can put this on your network, right? I don't know.
I would love it. I would love it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Listen, thank you so much. Jessica, you want to?
I just want to thank you again, Mr. Duke, for taking time out of your day to have this amazing dialogue with us. I also want to remind everyone, November 3rd is the big day. So please get out there, make your vote count, know what you're voting for, because your vote matters.
Your vote matters.
And Brooklyn Honcho and the rest of the people in the chat, they're saying thank you. They had a lot of questions, but we couldn't really, cut your wisdom short to get to all of them. So I want to apologize to everybody whose comments we ignored only because we wanted to. We couldn't cut the wisdom short. We only have an hour with Mr. Bill Duke today. But hopefully, with us being on his network, maybe in the future, we can work something out and we can work it out, be a little bit more interactive with the comments. But yes, your vote matters. Black votes matters. Latino votes matters. My vote matters. Your votes matters. Go to yourvotematters.store. Yourvotematters.store if you want that fresh apparel that Mr. Bill Duke has on today. Thank you so much. I could spend another hour thanking you, but we're just going to end it here. All right.
God bless you both, and thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. And here is on the outro. Here you go. Yourvotematters.store.